Winner goes to LCS. The loser back down to Challenger. Schalke still have to win another game, stay alive in this one. Rek'Sai the first ban, followed by the Nidalee. Don't expect anything different there.
No, 1-for-1 on the Misfits side. Should be Malzahar, Lee Sin as well. And then Schalke. GP was normally the first ban. Might end up leaving it open. I think these two bans are the expected ones with the Karma. So you set up for the first pick Vlad. Okay, there's the GP. So nothing changed from Schalke. And Vladimir ban actually from Misfits. Interesting. Wow, okay. I felt like they had enough choices against it. Like, could have run with the Varus composition, done exactly the same as they did before, and just pick Varus as the last pick. And they would be in a better spot. But clearly they think that the mid lane pressure was too much, and because Karma was gone, they didn't have the preferred pick against it. That's why they banned it. But this does mean Gilius has a chance again pick the Lee Sin. If they get a good mid lane matchup, Trundle obviously is the flex choice. They can go both sides, but it is rarely a game-winning choice. It's just a very safe early flex pick. I think you still go Gragas here if you are Misfits and pick that up for yourself. And they might just completely change up the comp now and not even run towards any sort of poke. But I think if you go Gragas plus top lane, you can still potentially go later on with like the Ashe, if that's what you're aiming for.
Yeah, well, they got the sivir on the side of Misfits. This time Hans Sama will get his hands on that. And the gnar, of course.
It's fun to see that.
Why mix it up?
It's fun to see sivir priority for Misfits now. When Schalke have shown they much prefer to play Jhin at the moment. Obviously, sivir is good into Jhin because sivir can run these death ball comps that can dive onto the Jhin. But they pick it so early, despite Schalke not really showing a whole lot of sivir lately. And value that over potential Gragas. So that's potentially also Misfits kind of pushing
Maybe
the
they
Gragas.
want to pick the Gragas. Hey, you take
it.
We don't want to see that Lee Sin
Hey,
again,
if you pick the Gragas, we know what you can do. If he goes God Gilius mode again on Lee Sin, which I think he should pick.
Yeah, and he does.
I mean, Misfits clearly value the Vladimir above it.
It's the mind games now. They're saying, hey, is he going to pick? Is he going to not? I mean, they get the Gragas on their side now, no problem.
Maybe I'm reading too much into like the confidence and the mental part, but like for Gilius, this is the way for him to carry games. He might go crazy again and just go too aggressive and die, and Misfits win, and we're like, oh well, you know, Gilius had one game that was great, and then one game where he messed up, you know, that's it, and therefore Misfits win. But it sets up Gilius on his comfort pick to try and reverse sweep this one, even though Misfits have shown they were a better team in game 1 and game 2, like overall. So, but Vladimir also does make sense just because it was a great pick and Karma was banned against it.
Well, and if you're confounded by it, if you're just not able to deal at this point and you know that the Lee Sin or that's going to come out together, why not just take away one that does the more damage and say, hey, Gilius, can you do this when your mid laner's not going to have a Vladimir?
Trundle is also a good pick into sivir. So the first pick Trundle getting a bit more value here. Will go support, obviously.
Well, the Bard's still being hovered as the timer ticks down. That's going to get locked in. Along with the hecarim for Wisdom, he doesn't take the Gragas. This time, they're going all speed.
So Misfits running with a lot of engage here, a lot of catch potential. But some targets that are pretty easy for Lee Sin to get to, being it both Sivir and Bard. If Lee Sin wants to focus on that side of the map. It is still a team fighting competition for Misfits. Changing it up a lot, not even looking to run any sort of poke here from them, just pure run at the enemy team, go nuts, can round it up
with
something like
roots a bit more.
You can go for something like a Cassiopeia with the extra speed up, the pick potential from it, depending on what mid lane pick we get. Now this is tricky now for Schalke, because they don't have their traditional mid lane options like the Vladimir or the Malzahar or the Karmas, like some of the safe blind picks. Azir does have quite a lot of counters. One of them is actually Varus, funny enough. Ryze I think is the best choice here, because I think Ryze is really good 1v1 and he can handle himself in almost any matchup. So I would definitely go Ryze if I was Schalke.
Oh boy, it's gonna happen. They lock it in. They take the Lucian as well for MrRalleZ. We were wondering when this was gonna finally come back. So game number 4, Schalke locked that in. Back over to Misfits for the last. What is their mid lane gonna be against this Ryze?
Well, so very heavy skirmish comp now from Schalke, like Lee Sin, Lucian, Ryze. A lot of single target DPS, single target CC as well against multiple targets here. Single target CC against multiple targets doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So let's remove the last part of that sentence and just say a lot of single target. A lot of skirmish from Schalke. Ryze, especially late game, when you start doing like 1,000 damage on your Q when you get the spell flux first with a 100% increase in DPS from your overload, it's like
still machine
it is bonkers. Like it is crazy. But getting there obviously requires quite some levels. One-on-one though in the laning phase, he's just fine. He's weak against poke, he's weak against siege.
Ah, okay.
We are really committing all in if we are Misfits. This is gonna be crazy aggressive mid-game. One item on each member and you start going ham in fights.
Yeah, it's Mortal Kombat.
Ooh, they're gonna dive straight into ryze though.
Okay.
I mean, not as bad as it used to be.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. Selfie has brought out the Lissandra. There is so much fight that Misfits have brought to this game. They want to end it right here, right now. Can they close out the series? Schalke, they've got a heavy skirmish on their side. And definitely have to keep an eye on Gilius once again, see if he shows up.
Definitely so. If he's able to shut down Wisdom here, then suddenly Wisdom can't go mid and start camping with Selfie. Also, ryze picking Cleanse, smart choice, by the way, when you're against Hecarim and Lissandra, especially Lissandra. And really both teams having a lot of skirmish, but a lot of pick potential as well. So like this is the kind of game that can really snowball out of control. Like if one of the teams,
just like all the other games.
Well, yeah, funny enough, but like comp-wise, if one of the teams get an advantage and they're able to constantly like force these one-on-one 2v2s, you have so much catch potential that the other team just completely falls apart and it's almost impossible to do anything on the map.
This is going to be really brutal one way or another, and I don't know about you, but it's going to be so exciting. I'm ready to roll for this one. Who do you guys think is going to take this win away? Will Schalke even the series up? If you think so, hashtag S04 win. Hop on Twitter and make it happen. And if you think Misfits can close this one out, earn themselves a spot in the LCS, hashtag MSF win. They're going to be button heads pretty heavily this game. Let's find out how it all goes down.
And it should be a super action-packed game, Pyra. So many aggressive champions, so many aggressive picks here. And Gilius on his Lee Sin again. Solo carried the last game. Twitter went nuts, by the way. Every single player, pro player was there talking about Team Gilius, God Gilius, you name it. Even saw a tweet from him. He's played like 8,430 Lee Sin games.
Yeah. There's definitely an affinity for that champion, and he thinks he can carry on it. Not once, but twice. Let's see it happen. So far, we look like we're settling in for standard lanes. Lines of scrimmage here. That may yet change. Still early on. Hans Sama trying to bait out MrRalleZ here, who just circles around the brush.
Yeah, obviously Trundle does well against Sivir,
but and they clear the ward.
Having these double range setups is very good against melee supports very often. Schalke realizing they don't actually want to deal with this 2v2 on the bottom side and decides, well, actually they could still take it. Unless they're trying to bait it right here. They can definitely still take the 2v2, but against Bard it is quite annoying to play melee support. If you are trying to trade on Sivir though, you put up the pillar behind Sivir and then Lucian can actually play aggressive. So it's going to be 2v2 Pyra. Good. We're going to get 2v2. We have a very strong single target DPS champion in mid as ryze. Has a little bit of AoE here and there, but the majority of his damage comes from his overload. Being able to fire that away on a single guy, and you can constantly reset it. So again, optimal DPS rotation on new ryze if you haven't seen him yet.
Yep.
It's like technically you Q first, then you E to reset cooldown on Q, you Q again, then you W, you Q, and you E and you Q, and you just keep going like
and
that.
Hit the Konami code, basically.
And yeah, you just...
Look at that, Selfie's already low. All right, level 1. Yeah! Oh man, this is gonna get real bloody. I have to keep an eye on mid lane, of course, but also want to take a look at what's going down on the bottom side.
Yeah, have
Ignar.
fun playing
nice long range there.
Level 1 against Bard as a melee support.
Cosmically bound.
Bard is probably the best level 1 support in the game.
That. People still believing in the Misfits here. 68% of you guys say they're gonna win this one. Take it over Schalke. It looked like it might have been a 3-0, but last game really changed expectations.
Yeah, the problem is the hashtag is not hashtag God Gilius win. It's just hashtag
That
S04
should be an
win.
option.
I think if we change that hashtag, just hashtag God Gilius, I think you will see a lot of votes for that one.
I believe it. All right, so Hans Sama. This is a hard lane to deal with. Sprattel and MrRalleZ still trying to push this one in. There's the pillar we were looking for. Sprattel, though, they turn on him. That is 2 exhausts really quickly. No hesitation to pull this trigger. And Sprattel, little damage dealt on him. Hans gets a bit of a health back.
So Ignar actually left the lane after pushing the first wave.
Uh-oh, Selfie. Uh-oh. Okay, he's fine.
So Ignar left the lane after pushing the first one to place a very deep ward near the enemy red buff. And he did spot Gilius at the ward. But it meant once he returned, he was still level 1. When Schalke hit level 2 and they went for the all-in. Managed to just trade exhaust but got a potion from Hans Sama. This is the thing again with Trundle against Sivir. You just put up the pillar. You don't care about spell shield because it does nothing against the pillar. So you just put it up behind her. She's not going anywhere.
Yep, and
aggressive
Lissandra's not
trading.
going anywhere either. Fox, oh, he's getting him oh so low.
Lissandra cannot win the pure 1v1. Like, she's here to try and set up ganks instead and have these, like, engages in fights. But against Cleanse, you need to do it twice at least.
Yeah. And, yeah, he's got the teleport. Like, it'll come in handy in the mid stages of the game when they're trying to get the outfights all over the map. But Fox can also bring his friends as well.
Yeah, very, very different situation.
Short range, but, you know.
ryze's ulti rank 1 is so useless, you don't even put any ranks into it before level 10. Because then you get a level 10 and level 11, you get to rank it up to level 2, and then actually gets proper range. Wisdom, why were you invading?
He was trying to get the invade off, but it's not enough. No flash, and Gilius needs one more hit to do it. He's not going to find it, and Alphari is there. Gilius, Alphari nearly having Mega Flash for first blood, and nearly gets the stomp onto Steve, who flashes away.
Oh, so close. Wisdom with the very aggressive invade here.
It was all
After his mid laner had returned with TP to mid, he was like, now I can invade because Lissandra can move if needed. If you look at your minimap now, you can see ryze is back in base. It's where Wisdom is like, okay, we got push top, we got mid laner here with TP, due to the TP, so now I can invade. But Gilius is there, and it's so close. And now Gilius has to pay the price because he used the flash.
Oh, and he gave up the red buff.
This is huge for Misfits.
That could have been worse, too. Steve had a quick flash that one.
Whoops.
Ah, yeah. So that's unfortunate. Start for Schalke here. Still not too far down in the gold game. Selfie is having a whole lot of trouble dealing with Fox.
He's not having fun in the one-on-one.
No.
But that is, again,
I don't
ryze.
think you have fun against ryze. That's just
ryze
not a
is
thing.
so good 1v1. His problems rely more on if I can kite him so easy. The choices he has to make with his spell rotation as well.
Sprattel.
Just a binding.
He went in without MrRalleZ for a second.
Wait, they're chasing for this.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage. Now they're not going to go all in.
Just a binding power. But again, the decisions you got to make with your rotation as ryze all the time. If you want movement speed, you got to sacrifice a bit of DPS because then you need like EW and then Q, which you stack it up.
That was a sick hop from Alphari.
You're getting
excited,
about the
man. This is a
smallest
good one.
things.
No, it's
the
not.
guy TPs and he just fires a Q on Ekko. It's like, oh!
He dodges it, man.
It wouldn't have killed him, Pyro.
No,
would not have killed him.
But I like watching it all the same. So let's slow it down just a little bit here because obviously the first blood makes a decent bit of difference gold-wise, even if it's very minimal here at 5.5, 6 minutes into this game. But MrRalleZ has had a much better laning phase than we could have expected from him, especially considering that first couple, and Ignar finding out that sprattel is waiting for him right in that brush.
Well, we talked about this before, with Ignar, first of all, leaving the lane level 1, but second of all, trundle against sivir again. You can set up these trades with Lucian, where all you have to worry about is the Bard binding flying away. So it's by no means the end of the world to play this lane matchup with Trundle and Lucian. I'm more looking at just this jungle interference, impact from Gilius once he gets level 6 compared to Wisdom, and then trying to set up these plays on Lissandra and mid, because Lissandra will not be able to do a whole lot without flash now. If Gilius comes in and kicks her back, ryze have enough DPS to take her down, even through the Lissandra ulti and wait for her to regain a little bit and then kill her right after. And Schalke, like, with their composition, it's going to be a lot of playing side lanes, just like with Misfits. But Misfits have double TP, so ryze always need to have kill pressure in his side lane to force the Lissandra back to her tower so she can't TP. If he falls behind, if the ryze falls behind in this game, Lissandra is able to have control in her lane plus teleport, and then Schalke can't really play that composition at all. So it's super key this ryze gets a good start and have kill pressure on Lissandra in side lanes to play the 1-3-1.
Steve's having some pressure on him as well. Alphari up in the top lane pushes him deep under tower. Before going Mega Gnar, didn't want to tango with that. But yeah, Fox definitely has a lot to do this game to make sure that he can get himself on ahead. Gilius nearly started off on a real good foot there, but he couldn't quite get the job done, and he ended up being kicked down.
He's level 6 now.
Yep.
Still no flash for Selfie in mid.
Okay, MrRalleZ, he wants to go all in on this. Big calling channel, but Hans Sama is still standing firm.
Junks are low. None of the AD carries actually recalled yet. Sitting on a ton of gold at this point, over 2,000.
That's a long portal, but Fox was already way back in.
I'm waiting for this mid lane play here. Gilius is around.
Sprattel. Okay.
Setting up a potential TP ward on bottom side, or a ward for Gilius to jump over if he wants to dive them on the bottom lane. Again, no recall yet from AD carries, coming now from MrRalleZ. Flash is ready for Gilius if he wants to pull up the gank. Still about a minute's time for Selfie. But they gotta know that timer exactly if they wanna set up the kill. And then also you gotta respect the potential counter gank from Wisdom, because Lissandra can't buy time.
Yeah, no TPs either for the top laners just yet. Steve did use his chrono break to get back into lane. Right back at it to push against Alphari. Hans Sama's really got no mana here. And the last time he tried to back, Sprattel interrupted him with the pillar. That's going to be the case this time. Ignar is blocking here. That's a lot of damage from the minions and the Cosmic Binding. But Sprattel's just hanging here, so MrRalleZ can pick up the farm.
Planning on recalling anyway after. Didn't mind getting chunked low. So we're basically waiting for junglers to do something here.
It's a much more patient game than we've seen.
Misfits do have the option, oh, actually stop the recall. Smart play from Ignar. Misfits do have the option to force a play on bottom side with double TP and bot ulti in just a few minions, because they need Ignar to hit his level 6, but he's roaming around again. But once he hits 6, you can set up a play. If you can push in with Sivir to the tower, where you bot ulti on tower plus one of the members from Schalke, and you just double TP in. And there's very little Schalke can do against it. Because remember this ryze ulti. I mean, it takes you from this bush to the topside bush, basically. It's so minimal in terms of the distance you cover.
Hey man, that's efficiency.
I mean, you can see here, if you look down the left corner, he's not even skilling it, as we talked about. Level 10 is where you get it, and level 11 for the rank 2, and then you can start using it.
Gets himself to blue. He'll be able to fire off his combos though, still. Gilius helps him get that one. Back to lane. No CS differential too much there in the mid lane, but of course, it has built up pretty big in the top. Alphari has been giving Steve a real hard time, but you know, the Snar matchup into that, been doing quite well. On the other side, though, MrRalleZ, he does the exact on the other side. Ignar, there's a double TP coming in here. One in the river, and they look for MrRalleZ. He has to flash it out, but he's going nowhere down, courtesy of Ignar to finish the job, and Steve is in the midst of 4. Hans Sama picks up a kill.
So it wasn't a tower dive, but instead Misfits, realizing that 2 members from Schalke were pushing the bottom lane. And as we talked about with double TP, there's really nothing Schalke can do against it, because you can't move the ryze to the bottom lane.
Oh yeah.
And that's an easy setup for Misfits. And one of the good things about having these extra globals, using the Lissandra in the proper way. She can't kill the ryze 1v1, but she can go to other lanes and very easily set up kills for her team. So good play here from Misfits, the correct move. MrRalleZ and sprattel at this point gotta respect teleports and can't just push. If you push here, you know there's such a high chance you get ganked. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, MrRalleZ, even though he looked for a moment like he might survive that one out, he wasn't even able to put the damage in, and Steve comes in after the back of an insult to injury as Misfits pick up 2, and the Infernal Drake. They're off to a good start.
A little preview of what's going to happen in the next patch, our playoff patch. Bot lane parties with TPs, multiple members showing up.
No lane swaps.
Forgiven is watching this, it hurts in his heart already.
Someone always comes back to that.
And that's what's going to happen. You know, this is going to happen when you have double TP. And this is where, again, for Schalke, it's all about having this ryze and move him later on in the game around so he can try and single out potential targets and beat them 1v1. With Lucian, though, you have another target who can sit side lane. Like, Schalke actually have like multiple options. None of them just have a teleport. So whenever they do, if they're not able to constantly push in that wave, Misfits will find openings like the one we just saw here, where they can TP in behind Schalke, force a team fight, where one guy is stuck on the other side of the map, and win the team fight 4v5. So play aggressive as Schalke now that teleports are on cooldown. I want to see them set up a dive on bottom side, honestly. They have Gilius on his way now, so this is good. Just look out for the bot ulti.
Ignar collects himself a chime, and to get out of sight, Gilius backs off, but Hans Sama here, he's strong enough to be able to push it. They do have the pink ward in case of Gilius, and looks like that's nothing doing right now.
Yeah, a little bit of greedy back timing as well from Schalke here around the mid lane. Yeah, and again, you want Rod of Ages on ryze, but you're setting up a dive on bot. You can't recall then. Your mid laner has to stay mid and put pressure, or he has to roam to bot lane with you and set up the dive. If he recalls, you have to back away. So this instantly slows down Schalke quite a lot. Instead of them setting up a potential play, they had to reset the whole thing and allowing Misfits more time to get these TPs back. Once TPs are back, Misfits are going to do exactly the same we just saw before, Pyra. And that's 2 or 3 more kills.
Well, they still have this lead for themselves. Despite what happened last time around, they're looking very strong this game. And Schalke, they need to push this edge. They need to find Fox the 1v1s. So Wisdom kind of roving around through the mid. Fox waiting up in the brush. He's not really going to be able to find anyone just yet, though. Still needs some time. Wants to stack that tier. Meanwhile, they've pretty much given up the top tower for dead.
It is a problem. Steve been losing one-on-one. There's been no jungle interference or anything. It's just Steve losing lane straight up to Alphari. Obviously, the TP bot lanes didn't help Steve either. ended up going down there doing basically nothing but dying, and then had to go back to top against a guy who now got a fully completed item. So very hard for Steve to do anything at the moment, and this is just a free tower for Misfits, honestly, where they didn't have to do anything other than just win your lane 1v1. That was the only thing Alphari did.
And they're very experienced at that. MrRalleZ sends a calling flying, but Hans Sama on the hunts and dodges away from it all. Wisdom here now having to fight over his own blue. Gilius going a little bit deep here, and Wisdom wanted to charge on in, but they stopped him up just for a second. Gilius is gonna go golden against his will. Kicks back. Wisdom into Selfie. Ignar can't quite find what he's looking for here. And they're going to portal right back in. Fox is here now, and it's back to blue buff.
Schalke can move back to the mid lane though, because Misfits have to take the longer route around and just get a few hits on tower. Looked like a big fight was about to happen. Everyone gets to disengage there on the side of Schalke.
That was a really big pillar.
We're looking at the teleport cooldowns though, Pirate. They're back up in just a minute's time from Selfie, and Alphari is already ready now. And that means, again, if you are Schalke, be careful when you're pushing out these lanes. Double TP can happen. Constantly need pressure against these teleporters.
Yeah.
Or you attack the TPs instead. When you play against globals, you attack the globals.
So Steve better watch his back right now. He's got no tower to fall back to, and Alphari continues to lane it out against him, building up that CS lead while he still tries to work on his Trinity Force. Meanwhile, Fox and Sprattel are here trying to give Selfie a hard time. He's not going to be able to farm out too safely himself. But that's not what they're looking for. What they're looking for, as you mentioned, are those teleport fights.
Yeah, now MrRalleZ is alone bot lane, so he can only take this one wave and then he has to go back towards his own turret. Just at risk of getting killed, because again, he's all alone. If you want to use Lucian side lane now, you need him with your support and jungler around him on that side of the map. So in case Misfits want to force anything, he can show up, and then the Ryze can move, use his teleport as well, his ulti to cover some distance, and then join for a fight. So that can be a good reason to keep Ryze in mid, just so you can ulti to both side lanes. And also Ryze can clear out the wave very quickly as long as he can meet it in the middle of the lane. He doesn't have to like sit on the tower. So keeping him mid so he can TP to sides makes a lot of sense. On the side of Schalke, it's just so hard to push now. Against his double TP, gets a lot of wave clear.
Yeah, well, calling makes Selfie. Doubt if he wants to push in on MrRalleZ there, but look, you've got a up in the top side. Rift Herald going down. Alphari's going to be able to grab it. He's going to be even harder to deal with, Steve. Yeah, Steve's not having fun.
Losing lane already. Frozen Mallet Gnar gets a Rift Herald. Really not a whole lot Steve can do. And that's constantly a winning lane for Misfits, making it very hard for Schalke to actually make plays.
Yeah. Well, MrRalleZ is making up some gold because he's been able to push in and keep Hans Sama a little bit more on the back foot, but Hans Sama just needs to be able to group and use his ultimate. I mean, that's a different priority here as Alphari hops forward and denies Steve even more farm.
I mean, Alphari at this point needs to just keep pushing 1v1 and get damage on tower.
I'm loving this Lissandra build.
Proto build Lissandra.
Oh yeah, that's real fast. Ignar checking right into that brush, has to portal. Right across the wall, and in comes Wisdom. A charging forward. That means MrRalleZ is going to have to relentless pursuit a little bit closer to his tower.
Misfits Pirate do need some wards in the river, but that's where Schalke is covering everything.
Ignar. Oh, there is an exhaust on Gilius, but he's fine. He's going deep again, trying to find the finishing blow onto Ignar. That's not going to happen.
I mean, this is really good from Schalke because they have so many pink wards in the river. There's nothing Misfits can do now when it comes to setting up TP flanks. So because Schalke took over the river completely with Ryze just constantly pushing mid, this is again why mid lane priority is so important. Because when you keep pushing mid first, you don't allow the enemy team to have a free entrance to river. It means you put up your pink wards and they can't really contest it. So by picking this Ryze and just constantly pushing in mid, Schalke have gotten a lot of map control, and they need this map control. Because once the wards appear behind you, you can't push, TP flank, boom boom, big bada boom, and then suddenly you die.
Not able to get anything done. So when Dragon goes over to Schalke, they earned it by virtue of grabbing as much territory as they could in that river. Ignar goes a little too late to clear out the vision. As Selfie tags in up top here, see if Steve sees this one coming.
But now Ignar got all the wards down. So now we have that setup where Misfits can look for the fight, and we're gonna get the fights, Pyre. Don't worry.
Eventually.
Everyone watching as well, we're gonna get...
This game's got a fuse on it, and when that sucker blows, it won't be pretty. 17.5 minutes, or rather almost 18 minutes, I should say, on the clock here. Misfits still waiting for the time when they're strong enough to fight. Ignar keeps on going on his chime collecting mission, and Fox goes back up towards top side. Selfie, meanwhile, will be hanging around for just a few more minutes. I don't think he wants to take the 1v1, though. Didn't work so well in mid. Alphari down bottom. And yeah, Steve is out, not having a fun time.
Now, that's really the big problem for Schalke, is the fact that wherever Alphari goes, he can push the tower. Over and over. Gilius is coming top in.
Can punish Selfie here.
This is one of the things we wanted to see before. You attack the teleport, you attack globals.
Selfie, he wants to go in.
He missed everything.
Gets connected, misses it. Frozen tombs himself, but will he get out alive? It doesn't look like it. Fox going low, but TP's flying both way. Magical journey, rather, I should say the ultimate from Ignar going in. Fan Sprattle and Wisdom goes big on MrRalleZ. Gilius hopping into the pit. That's a double kill for the hecarim, and Hans Sama manages to take out Gilius. All of a sudden it opens right on up, and they charge down Steve. A sliver of health will not be enough. Big bend to the face.
It looked really, really risky at first, with Schalke diving against the Lissandra, like, oh, they got the kill, okay, maybe they can get out. And then from looking risky, it just looked awful, honestly. That took too much time killing the Lissandra. That's the problem with diving Lissandra. Like, you can gank her and try and kick her out of the tower, but like, try and dive on the tower when she can ulti herself. Bought enough time for Misfits to send every single member to the top lane.
Yeah, that was crazy. So Selfie, he clearly knew what he was doing that time, but yeah, this started completely different than the way it ended.
Attacking the globals is the correct move, but the problem is now...
Keep it on the minimap.
You have two members here, and Selfie is able to dance around at first and then ulti himself, and then look at the minimap. So many members roaming up here, so even with Selfie dying, also because he got members low from Schalke, everyone then shows up, and it looks really bad for Schalke suddenly. Wisdom gets a few kills, Hans Sama picks up a kill, Steve gets Big Ben to the face. That's not very pleasant. Fits that is the UK player doing it, so I guess shout out to
Alphari, yeah.
Everyone back home from Alphari.
Meanwhile, trying to save the tower again. The rest of Misfits just show up and force the gank squad, or the counter gank squad in this case. Wisdom also was massive in that fight. That onslaught of shadows pretty much ended the hope of Schalke turning that one around.
I guess Misfits is showing that Gilius won't happen every game. That's why they were okay leaving it open. He's gonna
follow the portal though.
He's going for it.
Looking for Ignar, smites him down. Wisdom's here, he's at half his health. Into the Baron pit, they kick Ignar into the team. He's gonna try to flash his way to safety, but now it's getting messy again. Bard ulti goes down, everyone's going low. Wisdom picks up God Gilius, and they just shut him down. Ryze picks up one. Wisdom's gone, that's some gold in his pocket, but they did not win that fight.
Oh, Misfits looking very good in this game here. Gilius not able to go off on the Lee Sin, so suddenly banning that Vladimir was a very smart choice from Misfits into saying, you know what? That's the only champion we're concerned about. While the Ryze pick was good and had a lot of impact in the laning phase, problem is now the Misfits are able to catch Schalke whenever Schalke is going aggressive. Whenever Schalke is trying to pick up a kill, like here when Ignar jumps over the wall, Gilius follows, Misfits are already here with every single member ready to fight, and Schalke ends up over-chasing. First in the top lane, now here at the Baron.
Flashes away immediately. Great flash. Tempered Fate helped out a bit here. It separates RalleZ from the team. Everyone's already way too low, and then Fox can't do a thing. He does manage to get one shutdown on a Wisdom, so that's good, but they lose so much ground off the back of this. Losing towers, losing out on objectives. It's 22 minutes into this game. We've got 3 towers to 1. There is no interior turret in the mid lane anymore.
Oh, I'm afraid, Pyra, they're about to lose the LCS spot as well. If you are Schalke coming in this split, obviously it was a massive deal that Schalke managed to acquire a spot, the old Element spot in the LCS. Great football club, tons of fans.
It looks great from the start for them too. They had so much prep coming into the split, and they were doing well, beating teams.
Trust me, it's very, very healthy for EU LCS to have an organization like Schalke in the LCS, because again, they are such a massive football club. Problem for them is now this team stopped progressing. Misread the meta, had basically only 1 or 2 threats to play around, and after week 3, week 4, everything just collapsed for Schalke, and they started losing and losing and losing. They came into the promotion tournament where we expected them to be one of the better LCS teams, have turned out to be the worst of the LCS teams in the promotion tournament. And outside that one game where Gilius went off, against Misfits, they really haven't shown a whole lot.
Yeah, it's been very one-sided in a lot of these games. And speaking of Misfits, you know, you can see the gold lead. Once again, it's 8,000 up. They can start baiting out Barons if they want to. The Cloud Drake is live. Gilius just keeps trying to make these plays happen, but there's a reason that only so many players opt to take Lee Sin when everything's on the line.
I mean, Misfits in this game was also really respected what Gilius could do and not went completely ham when he could be around. So it's been a mix of him not being able to find the same place and Misfits just kind of adapting between the games.
And a few key members going off. Alphari's had a great game once again. Wisdom has had an excellent set of engages, and there's a reason he picked this over the Gragas this time around. Schalke holding on for dear life right now. If they can pull this one off, it will be huge, but they'll need to do it not once, but twice. And Misfits keeping this front up, keeping the pressure on. Don't look to give him a chance.
And again, Misfits now just waiting for TP from Selfie, and then they start playing around Baron. Pushing in 2 lanes at one or 3 lanes at the same time, and set up around this Baron here. Put in a few wards behind Schalke. When Schalke walks in to stop the Baron, you have, look at this ward placement here on Raptor, on the Wolf camp. You have one of the blue buff. There's so many ways now for you to TP in behind Schalke and then instantly just one-shot the AD carry.
Well, they're going to try to start something here. Gilius, he finds the kickback onto Selfie.
Good though.
Protobelt's forward, ults himself, but he is nowhere near friends. Teleport's going to start regardless. Oh, the Tempered Fate comes in. Gilius, and in comes Wisdom, charging down the line. Onslaughts into the back and finds RalleZ and sprattel. Meanwhile, Steve trying to finish the job onto Selfie, who claws away. Wisdom will fall. Steve is going to ult back. Gilius goes down. Alphari gets a 2-man gnar. sprattel and RalleZ knocked into the wall as Hans Sama goes on a spree. It's going to be a 1-for-2.
It looked pretty good for Schalke in the start here, jumping on Selfie. Had no flash, had no TP.
Oh, Ignar!
Find him.
Oh no, gets the cosmic binding. Couple more autos is all he needs. And Selfie wants to finish that job. Should be able to do it. Steve kiting, but not enough. Protobelt Lissandra for the kill.
So like the engage at first from Schalke, the problem is ulti from Lissandra on herself, and then a good ulti from Ignar as well. Bought so much time, allowed the rest of Misfits to show up. So this is actually a good engage. We got 1 member back in base, we got 1 member in the bottom lane from Misfits.
They buy.
It's such a good play at first, but then self-ulti from Lissandra into a great ulti from Ignar. And now you bought enough time for the rest of Misfits to show up. And just kite around, yeah, Wisdom goes down, but now Hans Sama is here. And suddenly Misfits can actually start to fight. And Alphari gets another great ulti. His gnar has been absolutely fantastic.
You could say beastly.
Beastly
in this
gnar.
series. And then we all know what else happens. Ignar finds Steve hanging out in the jungle. Won't see the rest of that one.
Oh, we will see Steve.
Getting a bit hot in there. 26 minutes.
It's getting
score.
very hot in there. You're 9,000 gold down.
13-3 on kills. Misfits have 2 dragons to the one that Schalke were bringing. I mean, we've got Earth, Wind, and Fire, but it's not going to be a happy September for Schalke.
Sadly for Schalke as well, then Selfie now have his TP, so he can just go to the bottom lane. Steve does not have teleport. So Schalke can't even defend bottom side properly and Baron at the same time. Can't even get a red buff. I mean, come on. Take the spot, you take the buffs.
That's what you call salt in the wound, Officio.
Yeah, because now Selfie just goes bot lane, pushes in bot, and whoever goes to defend, well, he's too far away from the fight.
Gilius is still trying for it, but there are way too many members of Misfits here. Has to turn back around and run. No flash on him either. Can't make those flashy plays just yet. But Schalke are on their literal last legs, and Gilius hops right into the Cosmic Binding. Wisdom ults in. Gilius is isolated, trying to run and fancy footwork his way to freedom, but Hans Sama says no, and Alphari and Meganar finding sprattel, finding Steve, and just like their health bars, their hopes of LCS are melting away. Triple kill to Hans Sama.
And straight back towards the Baron here from Misfits. What a good fight again, but it's because Schalke are trying so desperately to actually pull something. Sadly for Schalke, they're not able to execute. Gilius trying and trying and trying. But at this point, Schalke is too far behind.
It is a massive gold differential, and the way Misfits have won every game in their series so far has been just about that way. Gilius tries another time to go desperately in last second and right into the face a Cosmic Binding. Wisdom knows there's a time that they can take Gilius out, and without the smite around, it's pretty easy to start turning on things, but they find even more. Alphari, just where did he come from?
Well, Alphari and Selfie in this game have always been able to get to the backline. Especially Alphari with his ultis on this gnar, and Sama able to pick up all the kills. So you got Baron now, you got the biggest goal lead. Second biggest we've seen all day. We had the 16,000 towards one of the games.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Schalke.
That's a good statement. I agree.
I know.
I agree.
I'm glad we can agree
Yeah,
on things, Deficio.
It is definitely not looking great.
So,
we're actually just waiting for Misfits now at this point to start pushing in and then look for Schalke to try and defend, and then Misfits just dives them.
But they've played, I don't want to say cautiously, because cautiously implies they're reacting to everything and not like making a lot of moves of their own. Misfits are playing smarter. This series overall, the pick and ban phase from Game 3 notwithstanding, and what they were not able to do execution-wise, this is just so much better than what we saw even in the Origin series, even in all the Challenger games where they were just stomping. They're a team that's growing.
Wait for the bot ulti here.
Okay, Death Crush, it doesn't even matter. They're melting through those health bars. Everyone's gone. Fox is dead. RalleZ is only standing here on this bottom side, and Gilius is nowhere to be found. That's another tower, and as a 5-man unit, Misfits keep on moving in.
Schalke tried to set up a bit of a trap here. Last effort from them, it didn't work, and Misfits Pyro, they're pushing straight for the base and for LCS.
All that stands between it right now is a couple of Nexus turrets. They're not gonna last so long. We are just shy of 30 minutes, 4 games in, and Misfits, say hello to your newest LCS team. We'll see you in 2017.